Welcome, Gummers, to another episode of Fergie's Gum. My name's Nathan Irvine, and I'm joined, as always, by Mr. Paul Cropper. There he is, over there, scratching his head. He doesn't know what's
Yep.
going on. It's still early in the morning, though, there, isn't it?
Guten Morgen. How about you Germans? It is. I've just caught up on the highlights, so yeah.
Harsh,
Yeah.
harsh.
Guten
But
Morgen.
there we go. All of our German fans, all two of them, will be switching off now. That's it. We're down 2 subscribers. Yes, we are recording after Germany have just ducked out of the World Cup to Paraguay, and also the Netherlands in a shock penalty shootout defeat to the Netherlands.
Morocco.
Netherlands to Morocco. Sorry, Netherlands penalties. Oh my God, dreadful,
Awful.
absolutely
Awful, weren't
dreadful,
they?
absolutely dreadful. Anyway, we're not here
Good
to
game,
talk
though.
about that. It was a
Mhm.
decent game, very end to end. But I thought ultimately I thought Netherlands just didn't look like a proper Netherlands team. They had no control over the ball. Once they took Brian Brobby off, and I know I'm doing a complete different. I'm not talking about Manchester United anymore. But once they took Brian Brobby off, they put Wout Weghorst, and we all know what he's like up front, and it just became industrial football. It just became lump it to the big man, try and get the knockdown, see what we can do, and I think that basically killed him entirely. Um, we are going to talk about the World Cup though, but we're going to talk about it from a Manchester United point of view because there has been stuff going on over there. Whether it's connected to Manchester United players or whether it's been connected to Manchester United transfer targets. One of those that was playing in that Dutch defeat, Crescenzio Somerville. Did I pronounce his name right? I don't know,
I've
but I'm going to go.
better
I'm
than
going to
what
go
I
with
would
that
have done.
anyway. I'm
Yep.
going to go with it anyway. Obviously, there's the sad news about Manuel Ugarte's injury. It looks like he's going to be out between 9 to 12 months now. The good thing about that, I mean, there's no good thing to a long-term injury at all. But one of the compensations of players that play in World Cup for FIFA, with FIFA, for the clubs, they get their salaries paid if anything long-term happens to them. So apparently I can't even remember how much it was. It was a few million, might have even been 9 million
Five.
or
5 million.
5 million, was it?
5.2 million or something. Yeah. 5.2 is
There we go.
round about there.
So yeah, that's going to be covered by FIFA. Obviously, we wish Manuel Ugarte all the best. There's been mixed reports though over the last couple of days about whether or not it's going to affect Manchester United's transfer plans now. Like, I'm not saying this as you've ruined it, now we can't go and get, I don't know, half of Elliot Anderson or something like that. But it's this thing about, like, how will that affect their transfer business now? Not just because of the money that they might get coming in, but do they need another midfielder now? Do they still need 3 midfielders? And we'll talk about this later when we move on to what Manchester United still need in this transfer window. Bearing in mind that at the time of us talking, they've signed no one. So that's exciting. Ugarte though, gotta just hold our hands up and say that is an awful injury, and you wouldn't want to wish that on your worst enemy, would you?
No, you wouldn't, mate. No. No, especially after the seasons he's had. You'd want him to go and have a decent World Cup, perform well, and then get the move that he probably needs. But yeah, it's always a bad one when these players get a long-term injury. He's taking a big chunk out of the career in it. So yeah, I always feel bad for him.
Yeah.
Always.
And
Horrible.
it's a weird one as well for Manuel Ugarte because I think he was part of a Uruguay squad that was just completely unharmonious, if that's even a word. It was pathetic from start to finish for those guys. Like, Marco Bielsa could not keep that team together. You saw him getting frustrated on the sideline. He took Valverde off. There's been reports that there was arguments in the dressing room. Luis Suarez was chipping in with things, saying that this wasn't what they wanted. So yeah, it's compounded Uruguay's World Cup campaign, and obviously they're at home. Short distance to travel though, as they're already over in South America. So that's not too bad for those guys. The other player that I wanted to talk about, mixed fortunes for this person because we haven't even seen him yet. Kobbie Mainoo. He has not played a single
Mm.
minute for England at the World Cup under Thomas Tuchel. Bit of a waste of a journey. I do have a theory about it, but what do you think about this? Should he be playing?
I should be playing ahead of Jordan Henderson when he brought him on the other day ahead of Kobe Mainoo was fuming. But I've been saying it in the chats and the group chats. Play Mainoo. He's this weather, this tournament. Rio Ferdinand touched on it, didn't he? Where international football is suited to some people. It suits Kobe Mainoo down to the ground. We've seen that with England. You think he was one of the best players in the last tournament, wasn't he? Sean
Yeah.
went in there, looked like he belonged at that level. Well, he does belong at that level. Is he ever going to get in ahead of Anderson and Rice? I'm not sure he is. He's probably not that level yet. But surely you can make a place for him in that team somewhere just to keep the ball. He will keep the ball, mainly, won't he? And that's what you're going to have to do in the heat. If England do progress the next game, which they should do, and they do get Mexico in that heat at that altitude, and you need to keep the ball, bring Mainoo in. He'll do it brilliantly. My worry is them three of Bellingham, Anderson, and Rice seem to be undroppable in Tuchel's eyes. A worry.
Yeah, I think so. He's had some very strange decisions in who he's actually taken as part of that squad. Reece James is, he's permanent anyway. Thomas Tuchel was his manager at one point, so would know what his injury record is like, but still decided to take him. And lo and behold, he's probably out for the rest of the World Cup. So he's making some mad decisions at the moment. I've got my theory about Kobe Mainoo though is, and it's similar to what happened with Ruben Amorim as well, is that I think it takes time to warm to Kobe Mainoo. I don't think it's nothing to do with his personality. I don't think it's anything to do with him or his ability. I think there must be something that goes on. Do you remember Jose Mourinho had it with Luke Shaw, where he felt like he just wasn't getting what he was trying to tell him to do? And he made those quotes that almost killed his career, saying that, if I wasn't stood on the sideline, he'd have to do, he wouldn't know what to do next. But I think that's the same with Thomas Tuchel. I think he's telling them what needs to happen. But Kobe, for whatever reason, it's not that he's not showing that he can't do it. I just don't think his character or his reactions is rubbing right with Tuchel. And I think because of that, because he doesn't feel like he can trust him, he doesn't feel like he can play him. That's why he keeps going with Jordan Henderson ahead of him. I think there's something, it's something similar, put it that way.
There's another comparison you could have is that he's getting the Carrick treatment, isn't he? He's getting exactly the same treatment that Carrick got for England, where there was other players ahead of him, but you're like, you can't. It doesn't always work, does it? When you play Lampard, Scholes, Gerrard, it's not. Yeah, they're brilliant players and probably better than what Carrick was, but you need that ball player and the holder and the tempo setter like in there, and that's what Mainoo would do. Maybe he comes across as a bit of a luxury centre midfielder, if you know what I mean. Not a ball winner, not exactly brilliant at tackling, covering ground like we've seen, but he does the right job for international football, like Carrick did as well when he came on the pitch. So yeah, unfortunately for me, there is something there, but I'm sure his time will come for England.
Yeah, I mean, for me, you look at Ugarte's injury, and then you look at Kobe getting no minutes, and you're like, all right, don't play him then. Good. Because I want him to come back and be raring to go for Man United when the beginning of the season, which starts, pre-season starts. The first game in pre-season for Manchester United starts before the World Cup final, which is mental. July 18th is when United play their first game. I think it's Wrexham, is it?
I believe they're back in on the 9th, aren't they? Pre-season training,
Yes.
the ones that aren't at the World Cup. So
yeah. And then finishing on a positive from the World Cup, Matheus Cunha. Now, the reason why I believe that this is a positive for Manchester United is he's playing as a false nine for Brazil, and he's already scored 3 goals. Didn't do much last night against Japan, which is fine. It's to be expected. Casemiro did pop up with an equaliser, but he's no longer our player, so we can't claim him anymore. He's practically an Inter Miami player by now. But Matheus Cunha, and we're going to talk about transfers and things that Manchester United need in the next segment. But I think Cunha has probably given United a little bit of cause, not for concern, but for celebration in the way that he's been playing for Brazil as that false nine.
Brazil's number 9. We all love a Brazil number 9, don't we? So it's he can play that position, can't he? He's doing well. He's having a good tournament. it just looks like good vibes, doesn't it, the Brazil squad all the time.
Yeah.
Just looks like good fun to be around. And they enjoy a good tournament. Yeah, Cunha will do well. I wouldn't be surprised if he got 5 or 6 goals this time.